What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Brandon. Today we're going to be taking a look at how I have the MGame RGB Dual USB streaming interface set up on a dual PC system. I'm going to go through how I have the routing and everything set up in the control panel. I'm not going to do things like the sampler and the voice effects because that is completely subjective to how you want it set up. And then I'm going to walk you through how I have it set up in OBS. And then I'm going to show you how I have it set up in games and system settings, the whole nine. Basically everything I use to make it as simple as and intuitive as possible. So let's take a look first at the MGame RGB Dual control panel. Alright folks, so here we have the MGame RGB Dual control panel. I'm not going to go through how I have my microphone set up because that's going to be completely dependent on what you have for hardware and equipment. What I am going to be focusing on is the routing right here. And the reason I have it set up this way is because it allows me to have a more fine-tuned control over what's going on. So first, in the stream output, which this is what's going to actually output to OBS, is I have the game audio, chat audio, and auxiliary audio. Currently I don't have anything plugged into the auxiliary, but if for whatever reason I decided to do that, this is where I would put that into. On the chat tab, instead of having my chat go through it, I have my microphone go through it, and it just allows me to separate my microphone out from the other audio sources so that I can change the microphone independently without having to go in here and use a virtual fader mode like this to control the volume. It gives me independent control of my microphone to OBS. And then in Alt is where I send my system volume. And again, I do it this way so it gives me independent control with a slider without having to use a virtual fader. The sampler is sampler. That's the only thing I run through the sampler. And then these two outputs I have a set of speakers hooked up and I have a headphone set up. There are times when I have two sets of headphones set up. And basically two sets of headphones allows me to do something like this, where one set of headphones will get audio from the gaming PC and the other set of headphones will get audio from the stream PC. And that's for if I want to play a game with one of my kids, or say one of my kids wanted to play a game with their friends on the PC, they can actually still use this independently without having to change anything within Windows itself. And that is honestly as straightforward as the control panel is. Alright, now I'm going to use the Xbox game bar to basically show you how you need to set up any game that gives you the option within the game settings to set your input and output for communications. After that, I'm going to show you how to do it with the system settings to make sure that your communications are going where you want them to, so that everything is still controlled by the same buttons and dials. Okay, so here we have the Xbox game bar, and basically for our voice, which you get there if you go here, and this sets your default inputs. You can set it individually through the party interface once you're in that. But basically, your default communications output is going to be the chat, and your default input is going to be also chat. And what that does is it's still going to mix everything out through the same stream. It just allows you to use the fader and the mute button to both mute incoming chat and to control the volume individually and separately from your microphone volume. This applies anytime you're using a game, whether it's something like Call of Duty or I think Fortnite allows you to do individual inputs and outputs for your communications volumes and routing. But I'm not going to try to go through every single possible game. It's going to be much easier and more efficient for that to be an individual use case of whether or not this will work. So next we're going to take a look at setting it within the system settings for volumes coming in and going out.